Hi everyone, come on in. Book club number 38. We're doing this Radical Awakening. I'm going to be referring to a chapter in the book today and go deeper into what it means and help you on your path if you so need it. Book club number 38 sessions already. Grab a book, grab it for your sister or her partner, male or female. This is a book that many of you are writing in saying that you are reading it many, many times. So I understand that. That is the way to read it. You cannot get this book on one reading, not because you're not intelligent. It's because I have a big mouth and it's dense. And at first read, it'll give you only one layer of awareness. You have to keep reading this stuff. You know, people often ask me for my Evolve conferences or my courses, what will you be covering this time? Like, is it new stuff? And I go, well, this is not a new song. You know, I'm not putting out a new album for your entertainment. Wisdom is wisdom. There's layers of understanding. So I could say the same thing, but you will be a different person each time you come to the table. But people don't get that until they do the work. So they're like, oh, what will this Evolve cover? Or what are you writing in this book? You know, as if it's up to me to entertain, you know, and not to sound demeaning of that attitude. But it's an attitude that is bereft of understanding that it has nothing to do with the words on the page. The wisdom is right there. It's you come to it differently each time. You know, I do vipassana meditation. You go for the course, it's the same damn course. Okay, they put on the video at the same time, you meditate the same times, you do the same thing. But I swear to you, each time you go, you're like, I'm telling you, this is a different video. I'm telling you, they did this differently. No, I'm telling you, you're a different person each time you go. So if you aren't evolving, then you are going to think, oh, Dr. Shefali just says the same damn bullshit every damn time, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and I understand that is because you haven't evolved. So it's you. It's all you. It's you. Well, I do try to, you know, write it differently and say different things. Of course, that is my job, to not be dull and boring. But really, wisdom is wisdom. It doesn't really move too much. It is what it is, you know. Every year, the fall season, voila, it's the same thing all over again. The leaves fall from the tree. Okay. You know, you don't tell nature, what, again? Again you falling from the tree? Can we have some new seasons? You don't do that because you abide by the wisdom of the age-old ancient wisdom, yes? So in the same way, I'm not saying I'm in any way ancient age-old wisdom, but wisdom is wisdom. So it's, you know, this is not entertainment. I don't write entertainment. I'm sorry I'm not entertaining. I'm not here to motivate you or to entertain you or distract you. I'm here to enlighten you to the best degree I can to do the work. So all to say that this book is not an easy read. It's not a one-time read. It is really something that you have to put into practice, and it takes decades, okay, decades of work. But here I left you a manual to the best degree of my consciousness, and I will write the next book now. And the next book may be a lot like this book. And you're like, oh, wow. Well, it may just mean that you haven't evolved if you find it the same. So let's move on. So I'm talking about chapter 21, which is embracing accountability. So here's a big trap that people fall into because of their infantile denial, okay, and entitlement. Yesterday I talked a lot about compassion, and you should have compassion for yourself, and you should accept yourself without a doubt. But no compassion can occur without brutal self-honesty. So I say this to parents all the time, right? They're like, I hit my kid and I made his ears ring because I was so angry. And then the parent feels bad and then goes and tries to make it up. The kid, if it's a teenager and if it has been really abused, knows the parent's game and goes, no. I don't accept your bullshit. right? And the kid remains withdrawn. And the parent will come to me and say, but I said sorry. But I said to the kid that if the kid hadn't done da 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 da, then I wouldn't have done da 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 da. And I say to the parent, that is not an apology. That is not brutal honesty. Brutal honesty is really to say, I'm an M-fucker at times, and I lose my shit, and I have anger issues, and I need to take myself to rehab, and I need to go away. I need to go and work on myself, right? So I tell parents who hit and abuse their kids that your kid doesn't need your sorry, and you don't get to forgive yourself. You need to go and do the redemptive work. You need to go and tell the kid, I have anger issues. I slapped you. I hit you. I hurt you. I'm out of control. I will go do the work. Now that is brutal self-honesty. Now that is accountability. Right? So my daughter always says to me, why are you sorry? Why did you do it in the first place? Why? What are you going to do differently? Because she gives me the third degree, like inquisition. I go, my goodness, can I just say sorry? And she goes, no, I don't need your sorry. I don't need your sorry. And she's right. Nobody needs anybody's sorry. After you rape the person, don't go and say sorry. That's not what people need. So in the post-apartheid, Desmond Tutu did this project. I think it was Desmond Tutu, and which is why he won the the Nobel Prize, I think. He did Truth and Reconciliation. And in Truth and Reconciliation, you had to talk about the heinous actions. You had to talk about what happened. And perpetrator to victim had to engage. The perpetrator had to look in the victim's eyes and go, I did that. I did that. Right? That is true reparations. Right? You cannot deny what you did because you've moved on, right? So in Germany, right, they have, remember the Holocaust, remember. This doesn't mean that you have to stay in the past, but it means it's telling the victims, I got you. I did wrong. I understand. I was out of control. I committed a crime. I hurt you. I betrayed you. You cannot bypass that, right? So taking accountability is brutal self-honesty. It's very hard to be brutally self-honest. Very hard. It is akin to, somebody saying to, telling their partner that I have been checked out of my marriage for the past 10 years and I understand why you're upset and why you cheated on me. It's like brutal co-creation, brutal understanding, right? Understanding your part of your negligence, of your betrayal. It's telling your child, telling your partner, telling your person, whoever it is, the details of the wrongdoing, right? That I see that I did this, I did that. So in AA, right, what do they make the addicts do? You write a letter to everybody. I did this, I did that, I did this, I recognize, right? So the other day I was doing counseling with a client and she said to me, I'm just so in awe. My ex came back to me with a truth and reconciliation of all the wrongdoings he had done to her. All of them. I was a narcissist. I lied to you. I gaslit you. I gaslit you. You know what great redemption it is for a woman who's been gaslit to hear from the perpetrator that they acknowledge that. They acknowledge that because she thought she was crazy. She thought she was wrong. Now, she was wrong because she tolerated him for too long. That's what empaths do. They tolerate for too long. But when she got to me, she came for session and she was in tears saying, he acknowledged the gaslighting. I mean, we both almost just cried. I cried for her because I felt for her. It was redemption. And that is true reparation. So in this country, in America, when white people, some white people, not all, get really upset with, oh, reparation, what reparation? We moved on. No, nobody's moved on. Only the privileged have moved on. Only the crime setters have moved on. Only that piece of society has moved on. The ones who have been hurt have not moved on. They're still in trauma. So true reparation is not necessarily money. It is acknowledgement. It is brutal acknowledgement. Not I did this because you did that. That is not acknowledgement. I did this because I was out of control. Let the other person decide what they did in their own co-creation. You don't get to say to the other person, I did this because you did this. That is not reparation. I did this because I did this. You do whatever you want to do. You come to your own realization. I did this because I did this. I did this because I was out of control. I did this because I was insatiable. I did this because I was twisted. I did this because I was effed up. I did this because I did this because I. Do you understand? That is the powerful reparation. That is the only way to be honest. That is the only way to be brutally accountable. That is why addicts send letters to their victims, pages and pages and pages. And they have to go through many edits in a real good AA program. They're not allowed to say, I did this because you. I did this because you. So it is about your own self. And then you don't repeat it. Then you take yourself to rehab and you go, I'm not doing it again. I cannot keep hurting this person over and over. So with parents, I say this all the time. Your kid doesn't need your sorry. Don't sit there and say, I only hit you because you were being disobedient. They don't need all that bullshit. You're just trying to redeem yourself from your own guilt. They need you to go to therapy before they get too old and you ruin their lives. And you need to go and take a course in conscious parenting and get your shit together and show up differently. So many of us in relationships show up the same. And we're like, oh, the other person is not changing. No, sweetheart, you're not changing, right? True change, like I've always said, requires a complete dissolution of your egoic shells. And until you are raw to the bone, you have not changed. You have just wanted change. You've just thought you have changed. You've just imagined change. And you've just been scared to change. So embracing accountability, I write this chapter before the compassion chapter. We're talking about my book, A Radical Awakening, in case you're wondering what my favorite topic in the world is. So embracing accountability comes before compassion. Don't have compassion for yourself till you have brutal self-honesty. Right? No hiding, no escaping behind pretty words, behind gorgeous smiles, behind all, tons of facade. Brutal self-accountability is, I did this because I did this because I. All of you in your lives, go write letters to all the people you've hurt and tell them, I did this because I. Not I did this because I couldn't handle you. No, I did this because I couldn't handle myself. There should be no you in the sentence ever. Not even one sneaking in line number 22. I did this because I did this because I. So this is how we radically awaken. If you want to radically awaken and you want to be surrounded by people who are truly going to catapult you to your next level, this is the book. So accountability, I write, is a pivotal aspect of our spiritual awakening. It means we're ready to take responsibility, So when I do something wrong to, say, my daughter, and then she's upset with me, she always tells me, Mom, I have a right to be upset. I'm like, but you don't have the right to be so upset. But then you have to take responsibility for what comes back. You can't throw it and then don't expect it to boomerang back. You can't. Right? Accountability is understanding cause and effect. It's not like, so I went for a workshop like a decade ago. And in those days, I never used to sign contracts, because I trusted people like a bloody moron. And I never signed contracts. It's because I didn't think, I was naive, so I take accountability. And so the person ended up not paying me the whole thing. And then she's told me to have grace. Okay, like, I hope you have grace and forgive me. And I'm like, so I got really upset. I was like, no, this is not about me having grace. It's about you saying I'm so sorry and go make the money. Ask me for an extension and you go work your butt off to pay me what you owe me. But you see how people do? They're like, they do the wrong and then they're like, you show grace. Correct? So the other day I threw something out in my daughter's room, which I don't know what psychedelics I was under the influence of, because I never ever touch a thing in her room. Even her underwear from 4th grade. If she wants it, I'm like, you keep it. But that day I went into her room and it was like a name tag or sign made out of wood, her name, but it was broken. So I thought, okay, this is garbage from my maternal point of view, and I tossed it. Who knows and who knew that the child wanted the broken thing? Okay, 18-year-old girl wants it from I don't know what. Screaming, how dare you touch my stuff? So of course, I wanted to be like, because I wasn't ready to take accountability, I wanted to be like, look at you. How are you screaming? How are you yelling? Right? We do this to black people when they riot. We're like, look at them. How can they be so angry? They should not break the law. Right? We are very superior. So I was like this with my daughter. How could you do this? I didn't do something so bad. I did that, and I'm justifying my bullshit, and I'm putting her down. So she got more angry, because you don't do that to my daughter. Okay? She's been my daughter for a long time. She's like, you will take my wrath now. How dare you? So when wisdom hit me, I shut up and I was like, you're right. I was under the influence. She's like, no, you were not. You were not. I was like, you're right. I don't take drugs. She's like, how dare you? What was wrong with you? I was like, sometimes I lose it. I don't know. Once in 20 years. I've never gone into her room to throw something out, but I made a mistake. So I had to eat crow. I don't know what happened to me, but obviously my mind was abducted. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm still saying sorry. It's been 2 months. And I bought her 10 more signs. And she's like, now I want them broken the same way. I'm like, really, Maya? You want me to break it the same way? I'm like, okay. But I couldn't justify it. I was like, I took drugs. She's like, you don't take drugs. I'm like, I don't know. I had a really bad day. I put on 10 pounds. She's like, no. How dare you? You did it because you weren't thinking. I was like, you're right. I wasn't thinking. The aliens came and took. She's like, don't blame anybody else. I was like, I cannot blame the aliens. So the thing is that when we bullshit and we just can't hold the space for the other's wrath, we first blame them. How dare you get angry in this way? So that girl who didn't want to pay me my money, she's like, you show grace, Dr. Shefali. I'll never forget it. I'm like, I should show grace? Then she's angry with me for not showing grace. I'm like, nice, twisting. But we parents do this to our children all the time. So if they're angry with us and they break a lamp, that's it. We're like, how dare you broke the lamp? You're grounded, right? But we don't see what hurt we cause them. And we justify. So I call it on page 297, around there, the allure of unjust justifications. Now, if you can be honest about your unjust justifications, you have really evolved, because no one can be. We all justify. We are master justifiers. I did that only because that. I did that because. We are the because parole. I was in a couples session the other day, and the husband was a total, let me see a nice way to put it, transgressor of his word, okay? In other words, a liar, okay? So every time he was being caught, he would say, I only lied because you would get angry. I only lied because the children would be hurt. I only lied because you did. I'm like, how are you justifying what you did and connecting it to her? Let's stop. I only lied because I had to teach him. And he's like, I only lied because I'm a coward. I was like, He's like, but because she. I'm like, you only lied because you're a coward, period. Mister? So in this chapter, The Allure of Unjust Justifications, I write, I ate the cookies because I was in a bad mood all day. I lost my temper because my kid was not listening to me. I understand why he hits me sometimes. I can be a really difficult person. Oh, and then we do unjust justifications for other people, right? Empaths are masters at that. Oh, he didn't mean it. He really meant that. No, he said you're a bloody moron, idiot, fool. He meant that. No, he didn't mean it. He actually meant, I really love you. And, no, he didn't. What did he say? So then we make justifications like this. I just wish he wasn't a workaholic. Then my life would be so different. So we are master justifiers, conditioned to avoid shame and punishment, loneliness and isolation. We have learned to find justifications for our own and others' actions. Justifications are the main ways we stay stuck in dysfunctional patterns, be it unhealthy relationships or jobs. But the most saddest, tragic thing is that unjust justifications keep us stuck here. We don't move on. The oppressor, the perpetrator, you think that they're winning. They're not winning. Only truth and reconciliation can make us win at all. That is the only way to heal the soul. There is no winning. White supremacist America is not winning. It's not winning. America is not winning. When we ignore what we have done, step by step by step. This doesn't mean we live in the past. But we do live in the past when we don't do truth and reconciliation. Only when we do truth and reconciliation are we actually moving on. It's really hard to look at yourself in the mirror and take accountability, isn't it? Really hard. We blame the other person. If she hadn't, if they hadn't, or we minimize, we diffuse, we distract. I didn't really hit my kid. He's just over exaggerating. I didn't really do that. And we justify, and we justify. And as long as we do, we will stay dysfunctional, toxic, and extremely harmful. So in yesterday's talk, I said, if you want to do no harm, you have to truly integrate all your broken pieces. But you have to see them for what it is they are. You cannot ignore what it is they are. You cannot bypass the truth of who it is you are. It's really hard. Now, you don't have to drown in shame, but you have to just own with brutal honesty. It was fucked up. It was messed up. I really hurt you. Right? And this is why they make, as much as they can, the rapist look at the rape victim in the face so that she can take her power back. Right? And say, I hurt you. You didn't do anything by wearing a skimpy top. It was me. It was me who was out of control. It was me who had no right. It was me. And I need to really heal. So, creating justifications in your mind is something we are masters at. And it is the opposite of accountability. Justifications passively generate excuses for why we or another did or didn't do something. Accountability actively creates actions to change the situation as soon as possible. So I had to buy my daughter a few of those things, replacements, and say sorry millions of times and understand what I did wrong and make a promise to myself, you will never enter her room again. Now she closes her room, locks it up as much as she can. I have to knock, which is good. Excellent. One is replete with stagnant energy and the other with adaptive resilience. Blame is a common way we create justifications. We point a finger at the other, so we stay in victim consciousness, either cowering in unworthiness or cowering in disempowerment. So you have to read this book. I really go into it in the Creating Accountability chapter. And if you really want to live a different kind of life, and if you want to really serve humanity, and if you want to wake this planet up, it begins with yourself. Waking yourself up. Waking your own lethargy, your own apathy up and saying, wow. Right? No more victim consciousness. Nothing comes about just like that. So even if you are a rape victim, you cannot stay in victim consciousness. You just can't. So if you can't stay in victim consciousness, if you are a rape victim, how can you stay in victim consciousness if you are the perpetrator? But people do. People do because the ultimate narcissism is self-preservation. The ultimate entitlement, the ultimate grandiosity is to preserve the self. And as long as we feel okay and we look okay and we take care of ourselves, it doesn't matter what wreckage is caused to the other. We make justifications, well, they deserved it. We make justifications, well, they can handle it. Then we make justifications. You know, I was with a very wealthy person the other day, and I asked them about, you know, their betrayals in their lives. And he's like, so many people have taken money from me and betrayed me. And the justification they create is that, oh, I'm so wealthy. They decide, for me, I'm so wealthy, let's help the person unburden their wealth. You know? So the human condition is really, really lethargic, infantile, apathetic, and truly problematic. Okay? And this is why we live in a great pain body of racism, elitism, poverty. This poverty in the world is not created by enlightened people. Racism in America is not created by enlightened people. The acute and blasphemous casteism in my country, it's not mine, is created through extreme ignorance. You know? And ignorance is not out there. It very much lives in each one of us. So our goal in life is to ask ourselves, how have I harmed another? Where have I caused harm? To ourselves or to the other? And to take brutal self-accountability, reams of pages, I did this, I did this, I did this. Because to dump it on somebody else and run is the most cowardice thing in the world to do. And parents do this to children all the time. Lovers do it to each other. Best friends do it to each other. It's always the other's fault. And, you know, so if the victim cannot be in victim consciousness, the perpetrator can never be a victim. But this is the hard thing for perpetrators to understand, right? That they need to look at themselves in the mirror and see the rapist within them. To see the criminal in them, to see the abuser in them. Abusers never want to see themselves as abusers, especially if they're narcissistic. It's always the other person's fault. So lack of self-accountability is the plague. And then we judge the way the person reacts, you know? We judge the black rioters. Oh, look at them. How undignified. And I always tell the people who comment on the black rioters, really? Why don't you be the receiver of slavery over 400 years and then talk to me? Don't judge from your place of morality and superiority. So looking within is an extremely arduous job. It's not a bed of roses. Oh, I love myself. No. Connection to yourself is not loving yourself. I always tell parents, connection to your kid is not going to hug and kiss your kid. Please do not hug and kiss your kid. Connection to your kid is being aware of what the hell you are projecting onto your kid and how you are taking responsibility or lack of with your kid. That's what kids need. Kids don't need your coochie-coo, slurpy kisses. They need you to take accountability for what the hell you are doing. The dysfunction, the wreckage, the rampage you are causing in their lives through your lack of wholeness. Take accountability for that. So, we're talking about a radical awakening. This is no joke. This is not child's play. This is not for the weak and the entitled. This is not for those who just care about public persona and to look good. This is not that kind of book. So don't read it if you're that kind of person, because you're just faking it. If you really want to radically awaken, then I'm your girl, and this is your book. So I don't know what influence of what drug I was under today, but thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. I will see you when I see you in the next book club. Take accountability. Don't bullshit, because everyone can smell it. Bye, guys.